Welcome to another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Max Chadwick alongside Dalton and Wasping. Dalton, another Heisman episode we got to do. Going into Week 11, obviously it's the final few weeks of the college football regular season, and the Heisman Trophy will be awarded after Conference Championship Saturday. So really there's only like 5 weeks total to make your case as a Heisman Trophy winner. So this race is really starting to tighten up right now. So we're going to go over the guys with the best odds, what we think the race should be looking at right now, and ultimately who we think ultimately will win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fascinating race considering the different positions that we have. In a lot of years, it just comes down to, like last year, the 3 best quarterbacks in the country. That's not what we have here, and I think we have some guys coming on strong lately. We have the odds kind of shifting every week, and even it kind of hurts when a guy has a week off. So I think you're getting into a lot of the bigger games on the schedule, though, and it's going to really depend, too. I really believe making, at the very least, being in the top 12 and making the playoff is going to be an X factor in this race.
Definitely. So let's look at the odds right now, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. Cam Ward is your new Heisman Trophy favorite, the quarterback out of Miami at plus 200, meaning he has 2-1 odds right now to win the Heisman. Travis Hunter, the wide receiver / cornerback from Colorado, is plus 220 right behind him. And then Dillon Gabriel right behind him, the quarterback from Oregon, at plus 290. Ashton Jeanty, the running back from Boise State, at plus 500. And Jackson Dart, a distant fifth, but still in the top 5, the quarterback from Ole Miss, at plus 1600. If you want to know the rest of the top 10, number 6 is Curtis Rourke, the quarterback from Indiana, at plus 2200. Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback from Colorado, at 7th at plus 3500. Jalen Monroe next at plus 5000. Cade Klubnik all at plus 6000. Garrett Nussmeier plus 6,000, and Quinn Ewers is at plus 6,000 as well. So it's kind of a look at the top 10, or I guess the top 11 of the Heisman Trophy odds right now. But Dalton, what stands out to you in that top 5 at least?
I still think I don't really understand why Ashton Jeanty moved down to 4th all of a sudden. I mean, he's had 2 games. So 2 weeks ago, right, he was leading the odds, right? And he's had games with 128 yards and 149 yards, which I guess for him is an average day. And he moves down to 4th in the rankings. And I get Cam Ward being hot, and he just continues to stay hot. But why, I don't know for the life of me why Jeanty moves behind Dillon Gabriel here when so this past week he tore up a Michigan defense that is nowhere near what it was last year. And honestly, there are several quarterbacks, not just Cam Ward, with better numbers than Dillon Gabriel. I think you mentioned 2 guys in that top 7, like Shedeur Sanders and Curtis Rourke, who are very much on par with Gabriel this season when it comes to the normal statistics, when it comes to the grading. So I think, look, if there is a year where a quarterback is going to win it, if this is a year where the quarterback is going to win it, I think it's probably Cam Ward or nobody else.
Yeah.
Right? I think those top 3, are not in the odds, but I think the top 3 of Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty, and Cam Ward, to me, and Ward I would probably still put 3rd considering the year Jeanty is having and the final numbers he's going to have. I mean, you talk about all these are down weeks, and he's got over 270 yards across these 2 weeks, including a UNLV game that was their biggest game of the season, right? They're right now ranked number 12, and they could be on their way to the playoff. I think Jeanty would be in for a big home stretch down here. They're still gonna ride him, right? I mean, they're gonna ride him to the playoff. I know Maddox Madsen is playing better, but I don't really get Dillon Gabriel, especially being ahead of Jeanty in all of this. You could, if you want to argue Cam and amongst that top 3, cool, but I don't get that at all.
Yeah, I don't love Dillon Gabriel. I mean, listen, Dillon Gabriel is very within striking distance of the 2 of them. Like I said, Jeanty is a distant 4th at plus 500. He has 5-1 odds, but you're talking about Cam Ward at plus 200, Hunter's at plus 220, and Dillon Gabriel's at plus 290. Like, that's all very, very close to each other right now. So I do think it's, before we said, it's a 4-horse race. I still think it's a 4-horse race a little bit, but even more so, I think it's even like a 3-horse race right now. Unfortunately for our producer Eli back there, he's got Ashton Jeanty preseason Heisman bet that he obviously wants to cash in on, but Jeanty doesn't have too many huge games the rest of the year, and you've got big games left for obviously Travis Hunter and Dillon Gabriel and Cam Ward, obviously, and Conference Championship Saturday especially. I think really we won't find out the Heisman winner until Conference Championship Saturday.
No, I agree with that, and I think there's several big games even that are going to factor into some of these back-end guys getting knocked out. When you talk about Jackson Dart even sitting there 5th, if he doesn't beat Georgia, if they fall flat against Georgia like they did last year, Jackson Dart's just going to be out of this race, despite really gaudy numbers. And right now, being our highest-graded quarterback in the country, he's had 2 really good games the last 2 weeks. But if they don't beat Georgia, it feels like kind of empty calories for Dart. I think Shedeur and Rourke are interesting, but I do, and I think the 2 Colorado guys, they kind of just had the what hurt him this past week and the odds shifting like this is Colorado had the week off.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to see Travis Hunter do all the things he can do. And I mentioned to you in our preview show earlier this week, Hunter and Shedeur have quite the matchup to put up some numbers against Texas Tech this week. If Hunter goes out there and has another 150-yard game against a very vulnerable Texas Tech secondary and plays well on defense like he usually does, then it's going to be, right back to Travis Hunter and all of that. But Cam Ward's got a good matchup, too, against Georgia Tech. So I think you're going to start seeing some sort of separation between the top 3 and 4 guys and then everybody else who may be in the odds. Because I think anybody beyond, was it Sanders at 7? I don't think anybody else outside of those 7 even has any chance at all to win it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. I'm trying to compare Cam Ward to some other quarterbacks in the past, and it's tough for me to say that he deserves to be the Heisman Trophy favorite right now. And I know I said last week that it's a 2-horse race and nobody else should be in it. I will admit maybe that was a little premature. Maybe Cam Ward is more in this race than I at least admitted last week. But I still believe that what Travis Hunter is doing is still historic. I mean, we said it before. I still believe the 4th highest graded receiver in the Power 4, and he's the 4th highest graded receiver in the country and 4th highest graded corner in the Power 4. Like, you're talking about top 5 corner and receiver basically in America, and we just never seen that before. He's the greatest two-way player ever. I think it would take a similarly historic year, like a Joe Burrow type of year from a quarterback to even be in the conversation with something like that. And I don't think Cam Ward is putting up like a Joe Burrow-esque season. But the reason why he has better odds than Travis Hunter right now is, 1, he's a quarterback. 2, he's a quarterback at Miami, a program that obviously is a massive, massive brand in college football. And also, like, Miami has been kind of down in the dumps in recent memory. Cam Ward has been back to being a top 5 team in the country for the first time in like years, honestly. So the storyline of that goes into it as well. So I think that has to go into it. But I just think in terms of what Travis Hunter has done this year has been absolutely historic. And I personally would have him still as the favorite to win this award right now.
It looks to me, I'm kind of digging through some numbers right now, but I think Ward he's going to throw more touchdowns because he's already got 29 of them. But it looks to me like Cam Ward is having a very similar season to what Michael Penix had last year, and he finished second behind Jaden Daniels, mostly because Daniels also ran for 1,100 yards. So I think that's kind of where you're looking at right now. I think now, again, Travis Hunter is a bigger injury risk than any other player on the field because he plays twice as much. And Ashton Jeanty, A, being a running back, and B, being in the group of 5, he's held to such a high standard because the last 2 weeks, again, you run for almost 130 and 150 yards the last 2 weeks. Jeanty's going to have to do something really special, I think, and challenge that Barry Sanders record to get at least consideration for first because it feels like he's falling behind, I almost want to say for no good reason.
Yeah, and like I said, I had a feeling this would happen because obviously he's a running back and also he plays in the Mountain West. So it's just that the games just aren't as prime time as the other top Heisman candidates that we have right now. I had a bad feeling that this would happen to Ashton Jeanty, that even though he's still putting up really good numbers, if he's not running for 250 literally every single game, he's going to be dropping in the Heisman race. Just because, unfortunately, that's the reality of a Heisman candidate in a Group of 5 conference. I mean, you got to be putting up just ridiculous video game numbers every single week. Like, Jeanty's bad games now are 150 yards. Like, if he runs for $150, it's like, oh, well, he didn't do enough to really stay in this race. So I, unfortunately, for Eli and for all the Boise State fans and for Spencer Danielson, the head coach of Boise State that we actually just interviewed, so go check that out as well. Unfortunately, I feel like Ashton Jeanty is really not out of it completely, but he would have
to do something crazy, including in the conference title game. But I think, look, Cam is in a spot where he can do that, and I think even Colorado's got some favorable opponents coming here. You look at Miami's last 3 opponents: Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse. What are the odds Cam doesn't put up big numbers in those 3 games, considering we've seen him already beat Louisville, who's got a pretty good defense, and Duke may have the best secondary in the ACC, and they still found 53 points against them. So I think there's a part of, again, the odds are not who they would give it to right this minute, but who they think is going to win it 5 weeks from now. And I get the case for each of the top 3 guys. I think Jeanty's going to have to do something special down the stretch here and again, probably challenge that Barry Sanders rushing record.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. I mean, it's just tough for me to say Cam Ward is like, oh, that's like the clear cut. Like, because one, Jackson Dart is a better PFF grade than him so far right this season. Jackson Dart has more passing yards than Cam Ward so far this year as well. Now, Cam Ward does have more touchdown passes than anyone else in the country as well, but it's just really hard when he's not, like I said, he's got to be blowing everyone else out of the water like a Travis Hunter is in terms of him being able to be a top 5 player in the country at both sides of the ball. You're just not seeing that. Again, the Heisman Trophy for me is always like, okay, who was the most memorable season? Who had the most memorable season? I think Travis Hunter is going to have that. I think we're going to look back, decades from now and be like, man, remember when Travis Hunter was a top 5 player in the country on 2 ways? Like, we're not going to remember this Cam Ward season as much. It'll still be memorable. I'm not taking that away from him, but it's not like a Joe Burrow or Cam Newton type of year. Like, dude, that was insane what he did. We're seeing that kind of year from Travis Hunter. It's just not a quarterback year, which is why I think he's falling behind in the odds a little bit.
I think that part, that they're the ones, the 2 Colorado guys, and especially Hunter, they're the ones that are going to depend most on this playoff race, right? And if they can run the table and somehow find a way to win the Big 12, then I think there's a much better argument for it. Maybe even if they just make the Big 12 title game, we'll see where that goes. But these last 4 games, especially the regular season, are so big for Colorado. I mean, and they have a chance. Look, they're going to be favored in their last 4 games. This week is a huge one against Texas Tech in Lubbock. It's going to be, I think it plays a big factor for them. We're pretty sure we think Miami's going to the playoff, right?
Yeah.
Boise State, if they win out, they're going to the playoff. That's clear with the group of 5 spot. Dylan Gabriel is going to the playoff. They're pretty likely to enter as the number 1 team in the country. So I think the Colorado possibly making a playoff push factor is a big one for Hunter, because for as much as they've improved the rest of their team, the 2 biggest reasons that they would get there and that they win is because of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter.
Yeah, definitely. Real quick before we go, just Dylan Gabriel, because he is very close in it. To me, it feels like he needs Colorado to, 1, not make the playoff, and 2, maybe a loss from Miami somewhere as well for him to really overtake and be the leader. For Dylan Gabriel, it's hard for me to say he's going to overtake Hunter or Cam Ward unless some chaos happens a little bit with those programs.
And in our grading, he's behind all of those guys. He's behind Dart. He's behind Ward, Gabriel, Sanders. Sorry, not Gabriel. Curtis Rourke as well. Shedeur Sanders. He's behind all of those guys. I think those in the Power 5. I believe in some order it's Dart, Rourke, and Sanders are the top 3, and then Gabriel's a couple spots behind them.
Dart, Ward, Rourke, Sanders, and then Gabriel at 4th. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just kind of. It's tight between all of them, and I get it with Oregon, but also it feels like we're just riding the Ohio State win with Dylan Gabriel, and there's not really – otherwise Oregon can just take care of business.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, still a wide-open Heisman race. Obviously, the top 3 candidates are extremely close in the betting odds right now, and we still have like 5 more weeks to determine who ultimately deserves the Heisman Trophy. But let us know in the comments who you think should win the Heisman Trophy as of right now, and who you think ultimately will win the Heisman Trophy at the end of the year. We have some more videos coming out very, very soon. I think a mock draft coming out, a live mock draft on Friday, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that as well. But also stay tuned for our Sunday review show. We're going over the biggest results from what should be a really, really pivotal Week 11 in college football with some of these candidates that we're talking about. Like Miami's got a big game this week. Colorado's got a big game this week as well. So we're obviously going to talk about those games and a bunch more in our Week 11 review show on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that. For Dalton Wassman, for our producer Eli back there, I'm Max Shadwick. We'll see you guys next time. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.